Hello and welcome to Healthcare IT Today. I'm Colin Hung here at HIMSS 25, and I am very excited to be sitting down with my next guests from Dimensional Insights. Welcome to the program, Nora Lissy. Welcome to the program, James Kirtley. I am looking forward to getting together with you because we go to a lot of conferences as Healthcare IT Today, and we get to see a lot of the things that are happening from the surface, right? And what people put on display. And why I'm excited to get together with both of you is because we're going to get a little bit behind the scenes with both of you to kind of hear about what you're hearing from your customers.
Great. Look forward to it.
So, but before we get there, maybe could you each give us a little bit of background about what your roles are at Dimensional Insights?
Sure. I'm a nurse by background. I actually did most of my clinical in the emergency room. I came to work for Dimensional Insight about 13 years ago. I was a customer of theirs at 3 different organizations, and I just loved it. And I wanted to help them expand the healthcare side. So I work with the healthcare consulting and implementation team, and help them put in all hospitals to work with the validation and all of our healthcare customers.
That's quite the endorsement that you were a customer 3 times and then joined the company.
I truly believe in what we're doing.
You are a true believer. James, how about you?
So I'm a senior software engineer at Dimensional Insight. I have been at DI 33 years now. I started as an intern in college.
And never left.
Never left. So I've been involved in pretty much every aspect of development for that whole time. That's the short form. Yeah, I don't have an exciting backstory like Nora's.
But they're going to retire in a number when you.
Right.
That's right. If I had a number, I mean, I do have a number. I have an employee number, but nobody knows
It's
it.
probably number 2.
And I've been saying it wrong for. It's not, but I am the 3rd most senior person now, after the co-founders.
But the thing is, when he says that, though, our tenure is probably 19 years amongst everybody that's in there. We have the development team have all been there 20 plus years, so they know what they're doing. They're very embedded in it, and it's really great. It's great.
Well, that speaks to the culture of the company and the work you're doing to keep someone engaged for as long as the 2 of you are. So this is fantastic because, no, let's start with you.
Okay.
You said, you work with customers directly, you work with your clients. What are you hearing from them in terms of the challenges that they are facing?
It doesn't change from year to year. It doesn't change from country to country or city to city. We're all still fighting the same battle. How do we fix, even though we have technology, we haven't really still fixed the major problems or the operational problems. I was just talking to customers in the C-suites. They get their measures and their numbers, and that's great, and those people get what they want. But who really makes those numbers happen? The operational people. So what I don't see still is getting things for them to give them their work cues, to give them the things that they need to modify and do. An EMR, yes, has all that information in it, but it's in different sections. It still doesn't come together in one clean little picture that says, okay, Mr. Smith is here for XYZ. These are the consultants he's seeing. I have to click all those different places. So they're still frustrated, the operational people, with getting data to help them make decisions. Like, we have all these registries, heart failure registries, and the heart failure nurses, they're like, well, I didn't know that patient was in-house. Why can't we generate those work cues for them by looking at their analytics and create that measure and find even those suspected heart failure patients so you catch them before they go out and you get dinged? So that's some of the frustrations I'm hearing from the clinical operational people. And then from the regular, the higher level people is, what can I do to give my people what they need? So we try to accomplish that with what we do.
I'm actually encouraged that you said that latter thing about executives actually saying, help me help my people.
Right.
Because that hasn't always been the case, right?
No, it has not. It has not. And I have definitely seen a marriage between, because in order for and it doesn't matter where you are, in order for analytics to work and really be the thing, it has to be multidisciplinary. Everybody has to believe in it. Everybody has to understand it. So if your CEO is going to put an edict out that we have to meet our payroll, then what are you giving me? What tools are you giving me to meet that payroll? So those are the things that we help them do, create those tools that gives the managers the tools they need to be able to make conscious decisions and know what they're talking about and not just have to meet a number, but know why.
I like it. James, your turn. What are you working on that's really helping your customers?
So when I started at DI way back in the day, it was all about analytics. Our first product was something called Diver. And it was this tool that allowed the real savvy user to really sort of slice and dice the data and get whatever they wanted out of it. in the intervening years, the pendulum has sort of swung a bit towards displays and dashboards and visualizations. And those are valuable, but they're not really the kinds of things that really got my sort of creative juices going or whatever. But right now I feel like the pendulum is swinging back towards analytics. And a lot of the stuff that we're working on today is sort of, I don't want to say democratizing, but that idea of making those analytics more generally available to the end user. And the stuff that we're working on is very much in that direction, both in a combination of sort of how do we make that slicing and dicing easier, but also how do I build my own custom dashboards, right? I don't want to program anything or anything like that. I just want to do some click, click, click. And I mean, I know my data, but I don't know programming, right? That's our user base. So very much what we're working on right now is that sort of bringing analytics to not even the power user, but every user, bringing that data there. So,
and do you think it's because people are more aware of the power of analytics, or people are just more comfortable? Because that like we just said,
that segues great into what he said. I agree 100% with him that analytics is really what you need. But what I think has been happening prior to now, with AI now coming out, now people are seeing the value of analytics. Prior to that, they wanted pretty pictures. Like there was some vendors out there, they could put it together. They're visualizer. They sit on top of your data. They expect you to curate your data, and then you get the pictures you want. But if the person that's responsible for curating that data didn't curate it, and people are going by, they got a pretty picture, but they got nothing to really believe in. So that's the different piece that I think that's the pendulum you're seeing, is that they wanted pretty pictures, and someone, yeah, we could do that. And then all of a sudden they realized, well, that's not my number, and that's not this, and that's not that, because we didn't vet the process. And so what we do is we go from start to finish, and we vet everything along the way, so that when it gets to that visualization, it's been vetted, and you can be comfortable to use that data any way you want to use it.
And I would add to that also once you get that pretty picture, you're always going to say, all right, well, that's neat.
Well, what is it?
But I need to know more. Like, where did that number come from? I want to actually see the patients, right? And that's where this analysis comes in, is this, other people call it drilling down, we call it diving, because it's the whole nautical theme. But you want to dive into that. You want to know, like, every answer brings up more questions. Yep. And that's very much what our software has always been very good at, and where we're moving now.
Right, because there's no hierarchy to it. So I might dive on something and go, I wasn't even looking for that DRG, but when did we have that?
Yeah, why
and then
is that number?
Yeah, and then you go and click on that. It's like, oh, I remember that patient. So it gives them insights into different things.
And this insight that you're providing, it sounds like it's being provided at all levels as well. Like, absolutely. In terms of, you talked about the depth of the information that you're able to provide, but I'm also hearing that, whether it's executives, whether it's nurse practitioners, whether it's people that, they all can take advantage of the insights that you guys are providing.
Absolutely. That's our goal. That's exactly what we're trying to do, is to, the big term, it was another big term, actionable data, but that really is what it's all about. What can I do with it? If my number is 2, what am I going to do about it? Is it meaningful to me? Then I don't want it on a dashboard, but give me something, i.e., if I want to know what my suspected heart failure patients are, I can do something with that. I can look at them, I can go on to make sure that they're getting the proper things that they need done, or I can say, no, they're not really heart failure, and take them off my list. But at least you're getting something to work on and start off with first.
I get it. Now, I have to say, we've been hearing over the last probably a few years now that any investment in technology has to show results, and pretty quickly.
Yep.
I mean, if it's not going to show results pretty quickly, they're probably not going to invest in it.
Right.
No one's really wanting to do this stuff sort of for the long-term value, if you will. First of all, do you guys hearing the same thing from your customers?
Hearing the same thing. Do I agree necessarily 100%? No, but yes, I do.
I would agree with that too. But so let me ask about that. Because when you're talking about analytics, when you're talking about insights, to me, sometimes that can mean it takes some time to get to that value. What are you seeing in terms of the results that your customers are realizing after they implement DI?
Well, we actually know that issue, and we've actually done a really good thing with it. I mean, so because of the way we've created our technology, we have a rules engine and we have our ETL process. And so we already know, and we've been in healthcare for over 25 years now, so we know the questions they want to have. So we've built some pre-built applications in there, and we also have all the code that we've used. Like, we know how to go to Meditech, we know how to go to Epic, we know the code, so we can go in and we can literally put in an application unverified, but in 10 days, you've got all your data coming through. You've got pictures, you can see, because we built that process that we just basically plug in, pull the info in. What takes the longest in any validation is the validation. That's any process that we have. I've had customers be up in 120 days, and I've had customers that take a year because I can't get them to get on the call for their validation. It's always the biggest fork in the road, and how we're going to get done faster or later is if they're going to commit to the validation process.
Okay. Any comments, James, on that?
No, I would add to that part of that process, of course, is there's always customization, right? So part of the validation process is where we learn, oh wait, we don't define acute patients this way, right? Newborns aren't acute for whatever reason. That was an example.
That's a great example.
But so the validation process is always where, and this is where you may also discover 2, 3, 4 departments all, wait a minute, we define acute patients to include newborns. And then, so we often find that the hospitals themselves didn't originally agree and have to come up with ways to make these numbers all match. And that's very much part of the process. And so we can show you dashboards, and then, even quicker than 120 days, we can show you a dashboard in 10.
Like I said, 10 days. It could be totally unvalidated in 10 days without question.
But that's where, and then you get into the nitty gritty of all of the details. But you can see the promise immediately, right? You can see, okay, I don't really agree with these numbers, and we'll find out why, but I can see here's all the power that we're going to have. And I know where those numbers came from, and I know why I don't agree with them, so we can then move forward, and everybody can be confident that those numbers will eventually be the right ones once we agree on what they should be.
Gotcha.
Which is another reason why we kind of went towards the path of creating pre-built applications as a starter, because every hospital has the same, they're all going at the same stuff, but again, how they define it. And also, if people see information in front of them, it's going to generate the questions that they need to ask. A lot of times you'll go to a customer, okay, so what's your pain problems? Then tomorrow in a meeting, they'll sit there and rattle off 20 that they couldn't think of because there was nothing in front of them to prompt that discussion. So I think having that pre-built allows them to ask questions and say, well, can we do this? I heard one time, I heard it a million times, can Diver do this? Can Diver do that? I felt like I was on a Verizon commercial. Can you hear me? And it was like, yes, we can do it.
I love it. Now, I can't do an interview these days without asking about AI or talking about AI. I think the robot overlords just make me do it. But let me ask you, how is AI factoring into what you are providing and what you're working with when you're clients?
You want me to start? Okay.
Yes.
So I'm currently describing AI as like trying to cross a minefield while somebody's shooting at you, right? So there are terrible things that could happen. We could, you could have an LLM hallucinate, use that clinically, and a patient dies, right? Or you could ship patient data because somebody clicked in the wrong place. You could ship patient data to ChatGPT, right? You could be giving Sam Altman 100,000 patient records, and now I've committed 100,000 felonies, right? But at the same time, you have to move. Like you said, everybody's asking, what are you doing with AI? So we're very much sort of in that, how do we navigate this? And what I will say is, because I've been with the company for a long time, and I first learned AI from a disciple of Marvin Minsky's back in the early 90s. And the things that we talked about as AI then, you would call an algorithm today, right? Nobody thinks of an expert system as artificial intelligence anymore. Now it's just every day. Same with basic machine learning, regression analysis, control charts. Those were all artificial intelligence 10, 20 years ago. Nowadays, they're not. Nowadays, everybody means large language models, right? And we do have, we're working on a number of different things, basically a chatbot that knows your data, knows how to draw a nice graph using the data. Everything is done in our engine, but the chatbot is the thing that sort of builds our graphs using the data that it knows about what your data is without ever actually it knows metadata, not actual data, because we want to be very careful that we don't hit those landmines.
Well, and I'm actually not getting a lot of questions from my customers at this point for AI. Like I said, they're still trying to get to understand their foundation, let alone Now give me predictive stuff. I mean, when I talk with my larger customers that are academics, yes, they want to know about AI, but that's because they're in that little space and they want to play. But really, in reality, it's really still give me information that I can do something with.
Love it. I love it. If you guys were to tell me what's the one key message that you would want our listeners and viewers to take away from our discussion today, what would that be?
When you're looking at what you're trying to do from a data standpoint and what you're trying to do with your data, it is crucial and critical, number one, that everybody be involved. It cannot be an IT or a finance thing. It has to be an enterprise organizational thing that you have to have everybody in the table asking the right questions. And if they don't know how to ask the questions, you have to have at least people that understand to ask them the questions to generate your thought process. And if you don't do that, you're wasting your time. It doesn't matter who comes in and does it. If you don't really focus on having the team that believes in what you're trying to accomplish with data, then you're just going to have a bunch of pool of data that may be good or bad, you don't know. So I really think that that's the biggest piece, is that whole crucial interdisciplinary grouping that has to be together. And we've talked about that forever, and I still don't think some places are getting really good at it, others still keep it siloed in the different areas.
I love it, Nora. That's a great message. Last question for both of you. Where can people go if they want to learn more about Dimensional Insight?
www.dimins.com.
I love it. Well, thank you to both of you for being on the program. It's been fantastic.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
This has been Colin Hung for Healthcare IT Today. I hope you liked that interview. And if you did, smash that like button and subscribe. I'll catch you on the next video.